Hi everyone, it's Mohammed from Interactive Sheets, and today we will talk about one of the most powerful features in Google Sheets, which is the pivot table. Now, if you ever struggled with organizing and analyzing large datasets, pivot tables can help you simplify the process. And in this video, I will show you how to create and customize pivot tables so you can use this amazing feature in your next project. Before we learn how to create and customize a pivot table, we need to know first what pivot tables are and why we use them. In short, pivot tables are a tool that allows you to summarize large data sets by creating custom tables based on your needs. With pivot tables, you can also categorize your data and extract all the relevant information from a large dataset with a simple click. This tool can be extremely useful for anyone who works with data, whether it's for personal or professional use. So imagine, for example, if we want to display the quantity sold for each item category. Now, this might be an important information, and it's a little difficult to extract it directly from this table. So in order to do that, we will create a pivot table. So we will go here into the menu, click on Insert, and then here choose Pivot Table. Now here we can select the data range of our dataset, and we need to make sure that the first row is selected. The headers of the columns are selected. We click on OK, and then here we can choose to create it in a new sheet or an existing sheet. So for this example, I will choose to create it in a new sheet. So I choose New Sheet and I click on Create. Now we have our new sheet created, and in this interface we can customize our pivot table. So here in the left we can see where the pivot table will be created, and here in the right we have the pivot table editor. Okay, Google will suggest to create automatically some pivot tables. So here, for example, he's suggesting to create a pivot table in order to display the average of cost for each item. But in our case, we will not use the suggested pivot tables, and we will create and customize one manually. So remember, we want to show the quantity sold for each item category, which means that we want to group our data based on the item category and then display the quantity sold. In order to do that, we need first of all to add into the rows the item category. So now we have the different item categories listed in the rows, and all we need to do now is to add into the values the quantity sold. So we click here in quantity, and here we can see that Google is by default choosing to sum the quantities, and this is exactly what we want. But for example, imagine that in your example you want to do something else. You can click here and choose a different function. For the moment, we will stick with the sum because it works fine with our example. And here, as you can see, the pivot table is created, and for each item category we can see what is the quantity of items. So now that we have created our pivot table, let's see how we can customize it. The first thing that we can do is, for example, to change the headers. We can change the name of the columns by clicking directly on the cell, and we type another name. So here I can choose to put categories, and here in the second column I will put quantity sold. Okay, perfect. Now the second thing that we can do when customizing a pivot table is choosing to keep or not the grand total row. So you can do that by unticking this option, and the grand total row will no more be showed. But for this example, I want to keep it because this can be a relevant information. We can also, for example, sort our rows. And in order to do that, we can go here into rows, and in the sort by option, we can choose to sort the rows based on the first or the second columns. Okay, so in our case, let's sort the rows based on the quantity sold, and here we can choose if we want to keep an ascending or a descending sorting. So in my example, I will choose to sort the rows in a descending way, where we can see in the first row the most sold item category, and in the last row the least sold item category. So now that we have a pivot table created and customized, so let's see how we can add filters to our pivot table, because this is an important feature of the pivot tables in Google Sheets. So here in our example, we have the quantity sold for each category. All right, let's see, for example, if you want to filter these quantities and show only the quantities sold in March 2022. Now, if you want to do that, we need to add a filter here based on the sale date. And the idea is to filter by condition. Choose here the between option in order to put the first date of March 2022 and the last date of March 2022. And if our date matches this condition, the quantity will be displayed. So here I will put the first date of March 2022, and here I will put the last date of March 2022. And when I click on OK, the condition will be applied. And here, as we can see, we have less values, which means that in this case, we are taking into account only the quantities sold in March 2022. Now, to better understand the pivot tables, let's try and do another example. Okay, so I will come back here into my dataset. Okay, so in our second example, we will choose to show the total value made by each salesperson. Now, once again, we come here in the menu, click on Insert, and then choose Pivot Table. We will select our data range again and click on OK, choose New Sheet and click on Create. Okay, perfect. So if you want to show the total value made by each salesperson, that means that we want to group our data based on the salespersons. So we come here to rows, click on Add and click on Salesperson. Now we have our salespersons listed in the rows. And if we want to show the total value, we can go here to values and click on total. Once again, Google will choose to sum the total, which is exactly what we want. And here, for each salesperson, we can see the sum of the total value made. Now, if you want to customize our pivot table, we can, for example, here change the name of the column. And for the order, I will choose once again to do descending order on the total values. Now, let's make our pivot table more visual. Let's say, for example, that we want also to put the region in the columns in order to see for each region what is the total value made. So in order to do that, we can come here to columns and add region. Now we have the regions displayed in the columns, and we can see for each region what is the total value made, and we can also have a grand total for each region. Now, for example, we can see that in the South region, we made a total value of $540. Hopefully with this video, you learned how to create and customize pivot tables. Now, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section, and if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and share the video with your friends and colleagues, and also make sure to subscribe to our channel if you're interested in Excel and Google Sheets content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.